One morning, Gregor Samsa woke from troubled dreams and suddenly found himself transformed into a gigantic insect in his bed. If it were you, what would it feel like to wake up and discover that you were now trapped inside the body of an ugly giant bug with a swollen belly and short, stubby legs? It sounds absurd, doesn't it? You would probably think that you could never fall into such an irrational tragedy. But wait, do not assume that this fictional story comes from some horror film. It comes from the masterpiece The Metamorphosis, by the Austrian writer Franz Kafka. This is a classic novella that has circulated widely, one of the most influential literary works of the 20th century, and it has been taught and studied in many Western universities. When I first read this book in middle school, the only thing I felt was, why can human beings be so cruel and so frightening? But after stepping into society, after gaining more experience of life, and then returning to this book once again, I finally realized that the author told a strange story in an almost flat, even tone, but once the fictional cloak is removed, the truth beneath it becomes heartbreaking. The insect hiding in the darkness in this work is also like a miniature image of many adults among us. This transformation into a giant bug is no longer just some bizarre fantasy. It is the reality that many of us have already gone through and are still going through. Do not live only to please others. Through The Metamorphosis, from Literary Flow's bookshelf of classic works, let us listen together. People only care whether you are flying high. They do not care whether you are tired. Waking up while the sun itself still seems half asleep, Gregor brushes his teeth, washes his face, and rushes to catch the 5 o'clock train so he can get to work on time. After that, he has to run around everywhere for business. Every day, he is almost exhausted from constantly moving and switching from one form of transportation to another. He eats irregularly and never gets enough sleep. And for him, this is simply ordinary life. For 5 years in a row, Gregor has lived this kind of life without a single day off and without making a single mistake at work. Even when he discovers that he has become a giant insect, his first reaction is not panic, not calling for help, not begging someone to turn him back into a human being. He has only one thought: I must not be late for work. Why does he think this way? Because the mindset of, I may be tired, but I must not fall, has long been rooted deep inside the mind of an adult, just like so many of us. In the morning, we rush with the crowd so we can get to work on time. In the evening, we struggle again through the crush of traffic just to return home. Every day feels like the spinning of a soulless machine, turning endlessly for work. This is not very different from the way modern people live under systems of rules and pressure. No initiative, no creativity, no freedom of action, only commands and regulations. Every time he walks into the company, Gregor wants to shout right in his employer's face, I want to quit. But after imagining that scene hundreds of times, reality stands naked in front of him, forcing him to swallow everything and restrain his emotions. He has to endure it to pay off his parents' debt, and that debt will probably take another 5 or 6 years. Ever since his father's business failed, Gregor has voluntarily become the pillar of the family. Everyone in the house depends on him, and he is the source of pride for his parents and his younger sister. This pillar cannot collapse and does not dare to collapse. In real life, there are many people just like him. Every morning when they wake up, there is no way back, no escape. All they can do is grit their teeth, lower their heads, and keep going. If they quit their jobs, where will the money come from to buy milk or pay their children's tuition? If they stop working, how will they pay their parents' hospital bills? If they ask for leave, how will they finish paying off the motorbike or the house they are buying in installments? These are the pressures and responsibilities pressing heavily onto the shoulders of an adult. And no matter how tired you are, you still do not dare stop. But Gregor's condition today is completely different. His body is now so clumsy and distorted. He no longer has quick, skillful hands. Instead, he has tiny legs that wave in constant confusion. It takes him 2 whole hours just to find a way to roll himself out of bed. By then, it is already past 8 o'clock, an hour late for work. Outside, he hears his father's voice. Someone from the company has arrived. In a workplace that values only productivity, where would human warmth come from? Such a place will naturally be cold and unforgiving of any mistake. The company representative has come to check whether Gregor is simply lying sick at home. But the moment he opens the door and sees that Gregor has become an insect, he panics, turns in terror, and runs away. He leaves behind Gregor's desperate pleas. "I will get dressed immediately, pack up the sample goods, and leave right away. I am loyal to my boss. My parents and my sister all need me. I need this job to pay off debt. And only this job gives me a way out. Please do not be so hard on me." But at that moment, his voice is nothing more than the sound of an insect, and no one can understand him. Watching the company representative flee in an instant, Gregor falls into complete despair. His despair is no different from that of many employees in the 21st century. Some are discarded by their companies simply because of their health. I once witnessed an employee who had worked for a company for 5 years and accumulated more than 3,000 hours of overtime. That person had devoted everything to the company, but after being diagnosed with a terminal illness, the company tactfully tried every possible way to make him resign. There is a saying, "People only care whether you can fly high. They do not care whether you are tired." Just as no one sympathizes with Gregor's condition, no one asks why he has become a bug, and no one helps him. The truth is that people care first about their own interests. When we first step into society, all of us carry countless ambitions and expectations. We think, by working hard, I will be promoted quickly and earn much more money. But after struggling through life for a few years, we are eventually forced to admit one thing. Most of us are very ordinary, and most jobs are simply for survival. Even if you give it everything you have, you may achieve good results for a short time and enjoy a high salary. But as you grow older, as your body and health gradually weaken, this spinning wheel will throw you out sooner or later, and there will be no place to turn back to. The company can keep running without you, but if you lose yourself, if you lose your health, you may never get it back. As I have said before, no job in this world that exists only for making a living is worth risking your life for. So the first thing you must do is treasure your health and treasure yourself. Do not live to please others. Gregor's transformation into a giant bug terrifies not only the company representative, but also every member of his family. His father cannot hide his disgust. He stamps his feet, brandishes his cane and newspaper, and drives Gregor back into his room. His mother is terrified. She jumps up and keeps screaming, "Save me, oh God, save me!" His younger sister cries in despair. Gregor can only crawl back into the room by himself. He understands everyone's fear when forced to face something so abnormal. But behind that lies an even deeper fear than the fact that he has become a bug. Gregor, once the pillar of the family, has now become a burden to the people he loves. He loses his job and has no way to support the family anymore. The savings at home can only last for 2 years. Once this pillar collapses, the other family members are forced to fend for themselves and find ways to survive. His father applies for a low-ranking job at a bank, his mother takes in sewing, and his younger sister gives up her dream of music to work as a sales clerk. Every member of the family becomes busier. And now Gregor has truly become a bug in every sense. Life does indeed contain ungrateful children, but it also contains fathers and mothers who do not offer real love to their own children. Those who are used to holding the umbrella for their family and loved ones often forget that one day the rain may pour hard enough to soak their own heads. I once watched a Singaporean advertisement called A Father's Promise. The main character is an office worker who leaves early and returns, yet his father still calculates and complains whenever it is less than the month before. When his mother suddenly falls ill, he rushes to the hospital, runs around begging for help, yet still cannot arrange a decent hospital room for her. His wife wants to travel, and after looking at ticket prices, he falls silent for a long while before finally saying, "It's too expensive, can we go somewhere closer instead?" The refrigerator at home needs fixing. His mother's phone is almost broken, his wife's birthday is approaching, and they also need to prepare for the arrival of a new baby. He works extremely hard, Yet what he receives in return is his father's dissatisfaction, his mother's silence, and his wife's disappointment. In the end, he can only say this painful confession: "I'm sorry. I can't give you the best. I did not become the person you hoped I would be." From the day we are born, it seems we carry the expectations of too many people. Parents want us to study hard, get high scores, find well-paid jobs, bring honor to the family, and marry the right person. At work, our bosses expect us to be productive, efficient, and wholly devoted to the company. The person we love expects us to understand them, empathize with them, and be present whenever needed. Other people's expectations become like heavy chains binding us. And if we live only to satisfy those expectations, we will soon lose our way and lose our true selves. As many modern novels and reflections on family life suggest, much of life is spent trying to escape the expectations imposed by others and discover who we really are. But honestly, it is very hard to completely free ourselves from what others want of us. Still, we cannot live forever inside those expectations. We have to face them. Expectations may be a kind blessing from others, but they should never become the goal of your life. The only thing we truly need to do is work hard to realize what we ourselves genuinely want. You can ask yourself, do you care about what others think of you? Do you secretly want others to place expectations on you so that your pride is satisfied and your sense of existence is confirmed through them? If the answer is yes, then ask yourself one more question. Why let others define your worth through those expectations? Each of us has only one life. If you spend your whole life striving merely to win admiration and praise from others, then you will lose much of the meaning that should have belonged to you. There is a saying, to manipulate others is a sin, and to be manipulated is a misfortune. Do not place expectations on others, and do not live inside anyone else's expectations. Do not lose your direction just to prove yourself to someone else. The path of the heart is courage. The courage to be disliked. The courage to live for yourself. The courage to love yourself. That is where we should be heading. Do not overestimate your place in any relationship. Once Gregor, who had been like an umbrella shielding the whole family from sun and rain, becomes in their eyes a mere bug. He turns into something like a ticking bomb inside the house. His relationship with the other members of the family gradually changes. At first, for about a month, the family still patiently takes care of him, but when they see no improvement, they begin to grow impatient. Each day he is brought only scraps and leftovers, along with an attitude that gets worse and worse. Even though no one knows or understands Gregor's pain, he still does not blame his family. He still longs to return to the sky and once again become the pillar for all those he loves. And when he tries one last time to protect the family, that is also the moment he loses everything. One day, the lodgers ask his younger sister to play the violin for them, but they listen while smoking, without any real attention, and instead show impatience and want it to stop. Gregor feels deep pity for his sister, so with great difficulty he crawls out, wanting to tell her to return to her room and play for herself instead. But unfortunately, he exposes himself in front of those tenants. The lodgers are horrified and disgusted by him, and they demand that the lease be ended. At that moment, the patience of every family member reaches its limit. His younger sister, once the one who treated him best, is now overwhelmed by anger and resentment. She locks him inside the room. Before the door closes, Gregor sees his family one last time. His sister is embracing their father, while his mother has fallen asleep. The three of them look calm and warm, as if he had never existed in that family at all. That scene nearly destroys Gregor's last remaining hope of survival. A writer once said that only when you are in the most ordinary, most humbled place do you have the clearest chance to see the truth of human relationships. Gregor had treated his family with complete sincerity. He believed that sacrifice for those you love did not need to be repaid. But he forgot one thing. Human nature is selfish. No matter how deep a relationship may be, it can still change. The next day, when the cleaning woman comes into the room, she discovers a dead bug lying on the floor. Gregor dies in loneliness. The tragedy of this pitiful man tells us not to overestimate any relationship. especially those built and sustained by money, or those maintained only through endless giving from one side. The Westerner's effect, mentioned in the Vietnamese text, does not appear to be a standard psychology term. The idea described is much closer to the overjustification effect, where excessive reward can reduce motivation. People often say that moderate rewards can motivate a person, but if the reward becomes too much, interest begins to fade. This can be applied to emotions too. Giving in the right measure is necessary nourishment for maintaining a relationship. But if you do everything in your power to treat someone well, then one day your giving may become something they no longer even notice. The line in the Vietnamese summary attributed to Wuthering Heights does not match a widely recognized quotation from Emily Bronte, so it is better understood here as a reflective paraphrase. Love yourself. Do not hand over all your love, spirit, and strength as a gift, only to waste them on places where they are not needed, and on people who do not value you. In this society, each of us is the main character in the script of our own life. So please, do not try to become the hero in someone else's play. Misfortune begins with losing yourself. Gregor's tragedy is that he turns into a bug, and even more tragically, when his life changes, no one accepts him not, even after he has sacrificed everything. Why does such unhappiness happen to someone so devoted? Is it because the company is cruel, or because his family is too cold? The truth is that the first reason is that he had long ago abandoned himself. On the surface, Gregor seems to have no choice but to keep working to repay debts. But while he is still young, energetic, and full of potential, he has already lost the courage to look for a more reasonable and effective way to live and repay those debts. He also does not know how to search for even a little joy within the cracks of that debt-ridden life. As Kafka's story itself makes clear, fear, especially fear of losing work and stability, gradually deforms a person's character. This kind of life sounds stable, but in the middle of exhausting labor, Gregor has all his freedom taken away by his own inability to refuse. He turns his life into a prison. As for the family, they are struggling, yes, but not utterly destitute. Everyone is still capable of earning money even while burdened with debt. Yet Gregor places himself in the highest position, making himself the pillar for all, repaying the family debt, buying a better home for his parents, and trying to fulfill his sister's dream of music. All of this goes far beyond what family members truly owe one another. But in doing so, he also allows those around him to develop habits expecting, depending on, leaning on, and even exploiting him in the name of family. When you make other people's needs the center of your life, your value will always depend on their demands and judgments. And the most dangerous part is this: once you lose yourself, you forget that every day you are supposed to reflect, to look back at who you are until one day, you stop resisting what is distorted and wrong, and become a prisoner in someone else's life. For Gregor, acceptance from his family is the only thing that could have helped him endure his transformation and continue living. But on the night his family abandons him, Gregor, a man who has lived for others, also loses the meaning of his own existence. The bitter irony of the story is that in the end, the family breathes a sigh of relief after Gregor dies. That outcome is part of the novella's ending, as commonly summarized in English-language editions and study guides. Even more frighteningly, the story does not really end in sorrow. After losing their son, Gregor's parents simply transfer their hopes for the future onto their daughter. Looking at his younger sister now young, healthy, and full of life, one cannot help but think that perhaps one day, she too might break under the same burden. If, like her brother, she continues living inside other people's expectations and trying only to satisfy her parents' hopes. In truth, even if we do not literally turn into bugs, many of us are not so different from Gregor. We live to satisfy others. Transformation may be a punishment for Gregor, but it is also a warning for all of us. Stay away from those who treat everything you do as something natural and automatic. The meaning of our existence is not to become the person others need us to be. Our efforts, our sacrifices, and what we give should never be regarded as things that happen by default. The most important thing is that the values you create should help shape a life that truly belongs to you. Care for others? Yes, but also live for yourself. That is the strongest armor you can wear in this life. And remember, through this whole life, we are not the continuation of our parents' regrets, not servants to our children, and not the shadow of any other person. For each of us, the most important thing in life is to face our true self. When you begin to live honestly as yourself, your life becomes more confident and more at peace. And I would like to end today's sharing with an idea often associated with Yang. We once longed deeply for recognition from the outside world, only to realize in the end that this world belongs to ourselves and has little to do with others. That wording is widely circulated online, though versions differ. May both you and I live according to our own inner light, move forward bravely, and meet a better version of ourselves. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who need it. Support Literary Flow with a like, a follow, and by turning on the notification bell so you can catch the latest videos. Once again, thank you, and see you in the next one.